water. Probably staying cool.
Hot day for them too. Here we are with the start list of the semi-final number 1 of the women's double scull, with Finland, Ukraine, Australia, Poland, Germany and the United States on the line. Finland, Ulla Varvio, single sculler in the under-23 scene, and Minna Niemen in former lightweight in lane 1. Lane 2, Ukraine, Kоженкова, Dementьеva. They already raced in the quad yesterday with 6th there. Kerry Hoare and Kim Crow for Australia in lane 3. The silver medalist of the Lucerne stage. The Ukraine, not to forget that, were 3rd at Lucerne. Poland, the world champion of 2009, Magdalena Fularczyk and Julia Michalska in lane 4. Lane 5, Germany, Karina Baer, former junior world champion in the single scull and medalist in the under-23 sector this year, silver medal for her. Nina Wengert coming from the sweep squad of Germany. They are in lane 5. Lane 6, Sarah Trowbridge, Kathleen Burtko for the United States. They were 8th at the Lucerne stage of the World Cup. Nina Wengert, Germany, focusing before the start. So here we are into this race, the women's double sculls semi-final number 1. Another time, three final A places out of this semi-final number 1. Favorites would be the middle lanes, of course. The Australians clocked the 2nd fastest heat winner time, and Poland just 0.07 of a second behind them. Not behind them in the same race, but 0.07 of a second slower heat time. But that's all for the record book. Now it's the semi-final. It's another day, and here are the Germans also wanting to go through to that A final. Karina Baer, bronze medalist in 2009 in the under-23s. This year, as I said, a silver medal. Was in the B final in the women's single scull at Lucerne. That's the United States double.
Sarah Trowbridge is in the bow seat and Kate Burko in the stroke. They won the national selection regatta early in the season, and that enabled them to keep their combination together through the World Cups. They were 2nd in Munich and, as you mentioned earlier, 8th in Lucerne. A very competitive field.
That's the finish lineup here. Minna Niemen, a former world bronze medalist in the lightweight women's double, now in the open section. Come the first quarter of the race is over, and it's Australia slightly out of Ukraine and Poland. Then Germany sitting just behind the poles, about a half length down, or a deck down rather, in 4th position.
I think one of the most impressive transitions from sweep to sculling is right here in the Australian boat with Kim Crow, the stroke seat. I don't know if you remember in 2010, Sebastian, she came onto the World Cup scene. She ended up rowing in the single. It wasn't planned. They had some injuries on the team. And then she just blasted off the line and led the field for 1,000 meters before she was overtaken by the more experienced rowers or scullers, and she won a bronze medal. Now she's in the double, but certainly someone who knows how to handle 2 oars, and she's doing a fantastic job. They're now out to nearly they've got just a deck of overlap with Ukraine. Sometimes it happens. You start out with that 1 oar. I mention it because a lot of Western countries, you learn how to sweep first before you learn how to scull.
Magdalena Fularczyk, Julia Michalska of Poland. Bronze medalists last year, but now they have to try and stay with the leading duo. Field's opening up a little bit more here. Australia still leading ahead of Ukraine, then Poland in 3rd place. And with this perspective focusing on the leading boat, we will have to wait for the other for the next split time coming up now. The halfway mark is there. Australia leading Ukraine, as we said, and then it's very close between Poland, Germany, and the United States. All three crews still within reach of that third and vital semi-final A spot.
And not only is that a ticket into the final, but it's also a ticket to the London Olympics, because if you make this final, you are guaranteed your nation's berth there. Now look at the two different styles here. Very long and relaxed in the Australian boat. I like the green sunglasses, match their outfits.
Yesterday you said that's also a message to your competitors when you sort of look at every detail in your outfit, but I doubt that whether the athletes really notice that. Especially not, well, obviously not in the race. Here we are with the Australians leading, the Ukraine in second place, but battles on for third place between Poland, between Germany and the United States. This is going to be a good one on the last third, the last third of this race. Australia looking comfortable there. Open up an open water gap here. 34 strokes a minute for Australia. Ukraine roughly the same stroke rate, I think. Villa Bled, the former residence of Tito until 1980 when he died. He used to stay here a lot at Bled, the Yugoslav statesman. So here we come with the next 1500 meter gone, and Australia leading comfortably in the semi-final number one of the women's double scull ahead of Ukraine and Poland. Wow, that's an over there still. So now what can the Germans do? Can the United States close in on the Poles? This is going to be the real race here, with the Ukraine looking good in second place.
A lot of strategy with the Ukrainian team over the summer, switching the various scullers around from boat to boat. The key, obviously, to qualify as many boats as they can. So they put a little more emphasis on that double, put the top two girls in there. And so far successful. The quad is through to the final. They were sixth yesterday.
And the quad used to be their top boat, former world champions and world silver medalists, but now, as you said, this year they spread out their athletes a bit more to qualify two boats for the Olympics. So far it looks good, but now we're up for we're here for the final sprint. Australia leading comfortably though, with more than 2 lengths now over the nearest contender.
Sebastian and I are here on the finish line, so we're looking both at the monitor and at the field to see how this battle for third place is shaping up.
Yeah, it's still Ukraine hanging on second place, still Australia leading, still Poland in third, but now the Germans have upped their rate to 39 strokes a minute, 40 even, coming up strongly on the Polish. Now have the Poles enough power to sustain their speed, which they built up after 1500 meter. Yes, it looks good for the Poles here in third place. Australia will cross the line first if no wreckage happens here, with just 5 strokes to go down to the line. So Australia winning this semi-final number one of the women's double scull ahead of Ukraine. Poland securing another A final spot here ahead of Germany, just 3/4 of a length down, but missing out here. And then United States in 5th place, and then is Finland also. So United States, Germany and Finland will meet again in the B final. So here's the confirmation of the result of the women's double scull. Australia, Ukraine and Poland through to the A final.